What if I told you that the most powerful force shaping your future isn't your talent, your background, your money, or your luck, but a single thought? One thought, the kind that whispers, "Maybe I can." This is the story of a man who lost everything, his job, his confidence, and nearly his hope, but discovered that every comeback begins in the mind. And it started on a rainy Tuesday. Daniel Harper stood in the parking lot of his office building, holding a cardboard box filled with 15 years of his life. A framed photo, a coffee mug that read, "World's Okayest Manager," a desk plant he forgot to water half the time. "Budget cuts," they said. "It's not personal," they said. But it felt personal. At 42, with 2 kids and a mortgage, the world suddenly felt unstable. As rain soaked through his jacket, doubt settled deeper than the cold. That night, long after his family slept, Daniel sat at the kitchen table, replaying every mistake he thought he had made. "I should have worked harder. I should have seen it coming. Maybe I'm not good enough anymore." Psychologists call this negative cognitive bias, the brain's habit of magnifying failure while shrinking possibility. Daniel didn't know the term. He just felt trapped inside his own thoughts. The next morning, something small shifted. His 8-year-old daughter, Sophie, he handed him a sticky note before school. It read, "Daddy, you always say every problem has a solution. You just haven't found it yet." He stared at the words, because he had said that over and over, to her, to his team, to himself, once. And suddenly he realized something painful. He had stopped believing his own advice. Positive thinking is not pretending everything is perfect. It is not denial, it is direction. What your brain constantly searches for evidence to confirm what you believe. If you believe you are finished, your mind will collect proof. If you believe you are capable, it will search for opportunity. Daniel made a quiet decision, not to feel happy, not to fake confidence, but to test a new question. What if this is happening for me, not to me? It felt unnatural at first, almost foolish, but it planted a seed. He began small. Instead of saying, "I lost my job," he reframed it. "I have space to reconsider my path." Instead of, "No one will hire someone my age," he shifted to, "My experience has value somewhere." Each morning, he wrote one sentence in a notebook. "Today, I will look for possibility." Not success, not guarantees, just possibility. That simple shift changed his behavior. Instead of spiraling in fear, he began sharpening his skills. He updated his resume, took online courses, reached out to former colleagues. Every action reinforced a new identity, not a victim of circumstance, but a student of growth. Science explains why this works. When you believe improvement is possible, your brain releases dopamine, not only when you succeed, but when you anticipate progress. That chemical fuels motivation. Positive thinking doesn't just change mood, it changes biology. Weeks later, while working on his resume at a cafe, Daniel overheard 2 entrepreneurs discussing how overwhelmed they were managing their startup. Spreadsheets, team coordination, operational chaos, exactly what he had mastered for years. The old Daniel would have stayed silent, assuming rejection. The new Daniel thought, why not try? He introduced himself. That conversation didn't lead to a job. It led to a short consulting project. That project led to referrals. Those referrals became steady clients. Within a year, but Daniel wasn't searching for employment anymore. He had built his own consulting business, something he had secretly dreamed of but never dared to attempt. The obstacle hadn't disappeared. His perspective had changed, and that changed his actions. And those actions changed his results. Here's what most people misunderstand about positive thinking. It does not remove difficulty. It transforms your relationship with difficulty. The challenge remains the same. you become stronger.
Your mind is a storyteller. It narrates your life every second. When something painful happens, you can label it as proof of inadequacy or as training for resilience. Every repeated thought becomes a belief. Every belief shapes behavior. Every behavior shapes destiny. That's not motivational fluff. That's psychology. Years later, Daniel spoke at a small business conference. During the Q&A, someone asked, "What was the turning point?" He didn't mention the cafe.
He didn't mention the clients. He said, "The turning point was the moment I stopped asking why I was losing and started asking how I could grow." He paused before adding, "It began with a sticky note, reminding me of words I had forgotten." The moral is simple but powerful. Positive thinking is not about ignoring reality. It is about choosing a perspective that empowers action. Your thoughts are not harmless background noise. They are instructions. If you tell yourself you are powerless, your brain obeys. If you tell yourself you can adapt, learn, and rise, your brain begins searching for ways to make that true. The power of positive thinking is mental discipline. It is the daily choice to focus on growth over defeat. It is asking better questions when life gives you hard answers. And it starts with one quiet thought. Maybe I can. Because the moment you believe that, even slightly, you shift from helpless to hopeful, from stuck to searching, from defeated to determined. And that is where every transformation begins. Not in your circumstances, not in your bank account, not in luck, but in the story you choose to tell yourself. Change the story, change the direction, change your life.